Hello. Welcome back again. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, I'm going to hit a pretty intense topic, I think. And I say it's intense because, whenever I talk about these kinds of things, I get a little bit of pushback. It's okay. It's like healthy pushback, but it's pushback nonetheless. And I'm going to start it with this. The demagogues believe they are better than you. So you're probably going, "Whoa, what's a demagogue?" So for those of you who are tracking, following on YouTube or Rumble, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull up the good old whiteboard that I got. I have been doing a little bit of prep work. And on this whiteboard, you're going to see some stuff. I hope that you're able to track along on a Rumble or YouTube, and that this could be pretty helpful for you. All right. I'm getting much more efficient at that, just in case you didn't know. Here we go. So they see you as chumps, all right? A demagogue will see you as chumps. So on the whiteboard, it says, go this way if you don't want to be a chump. Otherwise, stop right here. It's a matrix moment, red pill, blue pill. You won't be able to unsee what's next once you see it. So if you're not interested in understanding what a demagogue is and what your role is in that process, don't go on. Do not proceed if you want to remain naive. Now, I put that there because I'm using a little bit of emotional pull in hopes that people who are really naive, honest to goodness, stop right here. You don't want to go on and find out this stuff and then not be able to unsee this. Like, I really, truly mean that. Now, do I hope anybody turns back? No, I'd prefer that nobody turns back. I'd prefer that every single audience member, everybody that listens to me, everybody that sees this will go on because they want to learn and grow. Not because I'm the best, but because what I'm about to show you will make it really, really hard for you to stay exactly where you are. So if you don't want some change and some growth, stop here. Don't go on. Okay, I think I've said that enough. So what is demagoguery? Let's take a look at demagogue. Both definitions. There's the noun and the verb definition, and then demagoguery. A demagogue is a political leader who seeks support, in other words, power, by appealing to the desires and the prejudices of ordinary people. You hear this language. I hope you're paying attention. Rather than by using rational argument. Okay, they're looking to appeal to your emotion and your preconceived ideas, your biases, in order to gain power, and they don't want to use rational argument. A lot of times they can't use rational argument because when they get backed into a corner, there's a problem, and they're like, appeal to emotion, alert. I'm going to make you feel something, and then you're going to be all wild and crazy, and that will give me the influence and the power that I need to get out of my corner, but also to move my rhetoric, my agenda forward. Not always in your best interest, because that's not their priority. All right, as a verb, it's rhetorically exploit an issue for a political purpose in a way calculated to appeal to the desires and prejudices of ordinary people. You notice that ordinary people is in both of those. Regular folks, commoners, us. The interesting thing there for me is I don't know if there is such thing as an ordinary person. I have, in a therapeutic world at least, I have interacted with thousands of people over the years. Thousands. And not one has been the same as any other. They are unique. I am unique. And therefore, our relationship, what we create together, is also unique. So when they're saying ordinary people, they are lumping you into a category of less than because they are what? Superior and elite. So when we see a demagogue, that is somebody who believes they are superior and elite. And that's a challenge. So let's go on. Demagoguery. It's a political activity or practices. It's political activity or practices that seek support by appealing to the desire and prejudices of ordinary people rather than by using rational argument. All right, we saw language in here that was pretty much the same all across the board. So they're consistent in the definition. That's good. We like that. What does all of this mean? I'm going to take you back for a second. If you're following along on Rumble or YouTube, it means they think you're a chump. They don't want you to take the pill that's going to help you unsee this, because if you do, it's going to be a problem. For them, they're going to lose their elitism, their superiority, because you will know what they're doing. So, unfortunately, if you stick with me now, so be careful. If you don't want to go on, don't go on. This is warning number 2. Do not go on if you don't want to understand what your responsibility is. All right. I'm going to go through 4 steps. They are very simple in concept, hard in practice. Not all. Actually, they're probably all pretty hard in practice, minus the first one. If you don't want to know, please don't go on. For those of you sticking around, here we go. You're going to have access to this on Rumble or YouTube. Feel free to go in there and take a look at this whiteboard that I put together. I'm going to give you the change process, specifically to demagoguery. All right. Number 1, ask yourself this simple question. Am I a lazy, prejudiced person who is willingly going to go along with a politician or a political party who uses emotions to manipulate me? Am I going to remain a lazy and prejudiced person and just follow along like a lemming? Or am I going to do something different? So if we ask that question and the answer is yes, stop and don't go on. Like, really stop yourself. Have some discipline, okay? All right. Most of y'all are not able to stop, I see. Okay, going on. If you said no, we're going to continue. Step 2, learn to manage emotions. What? Yeah, think about it. If they're trying to appeal to your emotion, your prejudice, and they don't want you to grow and get better, then the number 1 thing you can do, learn to manage your emotions. Emotions are manageable. It may be hard, but you can do it. I'll go ahead and I'm going to make a note here real quick. I'm going to put together a podcast. I forgot to write that on my other note. I did put it up here on the screen for those of you following along. But I'll make sure I go over emotional regulation again soon. All right. Let's see. Step 3. Actually, I want to add something here. I just talked about growth, and let's be real. You got to be willing to grow. All right. If you're going to stay exactly where you are, but most of you who've come all this way, you're already invested in that. So there wasn't really a need to put that in here because, and maybe wrongly so, but I'm making the assumption that if you've gone this far, you are actually interested in some form of growth. Okay. So then we go on to step 3, learn to identify elitism or superiority by seeing the lies, secrets, and deceptions. All right. They're going to turn it to emotion when they find it beneficial to gaining power. Keep that in mind. Some people think they are better than you, and it's pretty obvious who those people are when they don't use rational arguments. rational arguments, but they default to demagoguery. It's particularly obvious when you back them into a corner, which I said earlier. And usually the rational ideas are the ones that are going to back them into a corner, because they're going to be like, oh, I don't know how to get out of this. Raw, let's fight. Let's fight. Let's fight. I need people willing to fight. For what? For an irrational idea? Let's go with no thanks. No thanks. So I've got some examples for you, but before I get into the ones I have here, I'm going to tell you, in part, I ran into this again this morning. I had been prepping for this already, but I ran into it again this morning. I had somebody who sent me an article, and it was an interesting article. It had a whole bunch of statistics. And I bring that up because they were trying to make the point that there is a huge, or a rather significant portion of a political party that is extremist. And so I was reading through the article that they sent, and it had a lot of data. Some of it was actually really interesting and good data. And within the first 30 seconds of reading the article, I was able to tell the slant. So when we learn to identify elitism or superiority, we can translate that into a lot of different things, including data analysis. I'll give you the example that I came across this morning. For some of you who are a little bit math geeky like me at times, this is going to make perfect sense. The article started off saying less than 45% of this political party is made up in the US. So that means 45%, less than 45% of the American population subscribes to this particular political party. So we're going, okay, numbers wise, that's, I'm clearly less than half. And so we go on. Then later on, like a paragraph later, it says that about 1/3. Now you notice it's going into a generalization. So it's specific by saying less than 45%. Then it says about 1/3 of that party is extreme. All right. And it didn't say it in those words. I'm sort of giving you the gist of it. But it did say 1/3, 100%. It said 1/3. And it said about 1/3 of that party is extremist. Then it goes on to say that this makes up 15% of the overall population. Well, my math brain, my geeky side, so bear with me if this is a little over the top for you, but my geeky side kicks in and I'm going, okay, less than 45% and 1/3. Well, what's 1/3 of less than 45%? I'm immediately going, that's less than 15%. The very next line it said was 15%, as though it is fact that 15% of the overall population. And my little alarm goes off and I'm going, whoa, hold on. That's either a lie, a secret, or deception somewhere in there, because those three things do not line up. And it's the beginning of their article. So doing the math in my head, I'm going, that's off. But they put in about. So, I mean, it's easy if I weren't being careful, if I weren't learning to identify this concept of rhetoric or superiority or elitism, the idea that you know better than me. If I wasn't actively engaged, I would have just moved right on. But instead I went, that doesn't register right. It's less than 45%. So at best, it's less than 15%. At best. Okay. At worst, it's maybe significantly less than 15%. And when we're talking about 15% of an overall population that is rather large, I mean, we're not the largest in the world, but significant, I'm thinking, well, it's pretty important to get those percentages right, because let's say there's 100,000 people and we're 1% off. Oh, here, let me do it this way. If I had $1 million and I gave you 1%, just 1%, is that significant? Every one of you would say, please deposit it. Here's the bank account number. Why? Because 1% of a million is a lot of money. Okay. Even if you're not good at math, you're going, that's still a lot of money. Okay. And we're talking about percentages of millions and millions of people. Okay. So 1% is a massive number, not a little number, a massive number. And we want to figure out those specifics. All right. So that's what my brain did. And then I went back and I distilled it and I said, okay, they're saying less than 45%. So they want you to believe that this particular party is nominal. It's, they're not the majority. And so they're pushing the agenda of take a look at this as though this is the minority. This is not your friends. This is not your family. These are the other people. And then they say about 1/3 because it gives them a way out, right? They can then go, well, we said it was about 1/3 and that ends up being 15%. If they were more specific, they would have just given us the real numbers, the raw data. And then they go on to say 15% as though it's fact because they want to encourage you to boost the number of extremists in that party in your mind. So if I were falling for this demagoguery, because that's what that is, it's somebody wanting you to believe a story instead of facts, rational thought, it was pretty obvious to say that this slant was for the other party. I hope that makes sense for those of you tracking. That's a problem. And it's a technique used by pretty much every political party, many, if not almost all media outlets. It's a problem. And once we see that stuff, we can't unsee it. So let me get on to the other examples. These are going to be a little more simple for those of you who are maybe in your earlier stages of growth. Rational thoughts, rational ideas that back people into a corner and they appeal to your emotion. They appeal to your emotion. There's a reason why we talk about gun violence right after gun violence, because it appeals to your emotion. Demagoguery. Okay. You like it, don't like it. This is reality. I like to live in reality. I teach clients to live in reality because if we don't know where we start reality, then it's going to be really hard to get where we're going, which hopefully will be in reality. Guns kill people. That's what they want you to believe. But the rational person is going to say, well, no, the people with the guns are the ones who make the guns kill people. The guns are tools. People are the ones using them, right? We wouldn't say shovels kill people. No, we would say people with a shovel could kill somebody. We wouldn't say cars kill people. No, we would say people driving cars and being irresponsible or something like that kill people. Who's at fault? The driver, the person using the shovel, and the person using the gun. Now, is it an efficient tool for killing? If somebody knows what they're doing, yeah, it could be. Okay. So I'm not telling you what you got to believe. I'm just giving you rational thought. Rational thought backs people into corners. And if we look at step 3 of learning to identify elitism and superiority and demagoguery, then going at something with rational ideas is going to back it into a corner. And if they then turn to emotion, to incite emotional reaction in you, then you know they are a demagogue. Okay, pretty simple. All right, I'll give you more. A baby is not alive in the womb. Is that rational? Some people say it's not alive in the womb until it is birthed. But when a surgeon goes in through the process of a C-section and takes a baby out, does that baby live? So we know it's not right up until birth that the baby is not alive. Okay, they haven't taken a breath of air. I've heard the arguments. I'm not going to get a whole bunch into the debate, but understand babies can be alive before they are birthed. Anybody who doesn't want to use rational argument is going to appeal to your emotion. Now, how far before? That's a great question. That's for another day. But it is not rational to believe they are not alive when we can remove them from the womb through C-section, and a baby can breathe and act just like a normal baby. And we do that pretty routinely in that third trimester with mothers who are in danger. So we know a baby is, in fact, alive before they're birthed. All Democrats are evil. That would be irrational. And there would be Republicans who want you to believe that. All Republicans are evil. That would be irrational. And there are Democrats who want you to believe that. They're appealing to your emotion. Demagoguery. Everyone should switch to electric vehicles. Demagoguery. How do we know? Because if everybody switched today to electric vehicles, our power grid could not handle it at all. We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the electricity. We would have to make major changes, and people would suffer in the meantime, as would, I don't know, many animals and probably our ecosystem, because imagine having to have an influx of batteries and all the digging that it takes to make batteries, the processing of batteries. Like, we could have some major issues. I'm not anti-electric vehicle, or I'm not anti-gasoline vehicle. I just want you to know rational thought says you can't do that. That's irresponsible. Step 4, remember how naive you were. Remember how naive you were before all of this eye-opening stuff that we just went over. Remember how naive you were. And if you aren't naive and you're listening to this, remember how naive you were before you learned this the first time. If this is review for you, that's great. But at some point, you didn't know this stuff. Don't forget your humility. Otherwise, you risk becoming a demagogue or an elitist, having a superior mentality, and falling into the trap of thinking you are better than everyone else. Don't do that, please. It's the only way to get rid of demagoguery. We have to put humility. In other words, when you make a mistake, when there's an error in your thinking, an error in your ways, when you mature and realize that you could have done better, just own your junk. Just own it. Own it and move on. Look, anybody who is worth knowing and interacting with, that is worth your time, energy, and resources that you want in your life, anybody who falls into that category has made mistakes. All of them. So why is it not okay for you to make a mistake? Now, if you're making mistakes on purpose, you're a fool. You're just a fool. Like, that's a bad idea. That's why lies, secrets, and deceptions destroy relationships. Stop making mistakes on purpose. If you do that, you're an idiot. I know that's judgmental, but when I make mistakes on purpose, which sometimes I choose to be lazy, that's a mistake. And when I do that on purpose, I'm an idiot. In that moment, I'm an idiot. And if I get, 5 minutes into being lazy and realize, dang it, this isn't the right thing to do, and I make the correction, then I'm smart again. Yay. I can flip from idiot to smart and idiot to smart, but I don't want to be doing it on purpose. The moment I recognize my idiocy, it's time to acknowledge it, make a shift, and grow up some. I hope this was helpful. If nothing else, you got a good word out of this. Demagogue, demagoguery, you know what they mean. You can have pretty intelligent conversations. And oh, by the way, I encourage you to look for the politicians that are demagogues. If you can identify the ones that are demagogues, you can help me vote them out and put humble, reasonable, rational people who want to make life better for you and for themselves in the process, a better life. That is a good thing. We want to be, cleaner for our environment. We want to be more reasonable socially. We want to support people who are trying to do good things, even if they make a couple of mistakes. Obviously, bigger mistakes are harder to get past, but that can happen too. We can get by them. We want to support those people. That's what we want. So get on board if you're open to it, and let's make a change by changing ourselves and allowing that to change the system. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.